A new baby is a time for joy, for change, and for love. But for some mothers, it's also a time of pain, despair, and anxiety. Erin Hawley joins us with one mother's story tonight. Erin.
Well, Beth, there are more than 3 million cases of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety each year in the United States. That's according to the Mayo Clinic. But it's impossible to know how many more cases go undiagnosed. Now, I do want to warn you that the subject matter is not appropriate for kids, and it may be triggering for some of you watching.
I didn't feel safe with my kids. I didn't know if I could trust myself in that moment, that if everyone was screaming and what would I do? No one thinks it's going to happen to them.
Despite a stay in the hospital for weeks for premature labor and early delivery of her twins, Ashley Thomas was able to bring home her tiny girls after only 5 days in the NICU at Baptist Medical Center, where she also works.
When we came home, they both weighed right at 4 pounds. So we had these tiny babies, and I felt like from the minute I delivered, I was not mom. I was a nurse. I was a NICU nurse to these little babies that I was bringing home. So I felt like it put this incredible barrier between me being able to bond with them almost immediately.
With 5-year-old Jack to care for, as well as premature twins, Ashley found herself detached and overwhelmed.
I remember crying the night before Jason went back to work, just thinking, not having any confidence. I didn't think I could do this.
She and her husband Jason did what they could to comfort colicky Madeline and Meredith, but with 2, the crying rarely stopped. One morning, as her husband left for work, she says she hit a breaking point.
I'll never forget when Jack climbed into bed with me and just kind of shook me awake. I had this intense feeling of panic, that something was wrong. I felt like something in my head had snapped, and that I didn't feel safe with my kids.
The girls were 5 weeks old. The kids and Jason went to his parents' house. Ashley went downhill.
It was just a continual downward spiral from that moment on, where I was having really intense thoughts about, what if I just got in the bathtub and slipped under the water and didn't let myself come back up? You know, with these kids, I think the kids would be better off if I wasn't here.
Suicide is said to be the second leading cause of death among postpartum women.
It's not something that's talked about.
Dr. Kristen Bracey, an OB/GYN at Cornerstone Clinic for Women, says about 20% of mothers suffer from postpartum depression, but adds strides have been made over the past few years to identify risk factors and screen for postpartum depression and anxiety. In fact, in 2016, a panel issued new recommendations that all postpartum women should be screened for depression.
I think the biggest thing is to offer patients hope and to let them realize that they don't have to feel like this forever and that we can fix it and there is help out there.
Despite that, it's estimated that half of postpartum depression and anxiety cases go undiagnosed. It took months for Ashley to seek help in the form of counseling. And 5 months after her daughters came home from the NICU, Ashley started back at work as a NICU nurse. She says those 2 things, along with support from her husband, family, and friends, pulled her back from what she calls the absolute brink.
It's not something that's easy to talk about, even still, because it was definitely a very dark period of time.
There's a difference between baby blues and postpartum depression.
Ashley now speaks to as many women as she can about postpartum depression and anxiety and shares her experience, hoping another mom might not feel so alone or so ashamed.
The shame associated with that is extremely high. I think moms put a ton of pressure on themselves.
But of all the times you've told people, has anyone ever reacted negatively?
No, I've never had a negative reaction.
Today, Meredith and Madeline are 1.5 years old. They're still a handful, but it's now easy for Ashley to find joy in every day, and she hopes others can find that same joy.
I feel like the depths of despair and hopelessness that I felt, if I could ever prevent or help anyone out of that, then everything that I experienced through that would be worth it.
Ashley's advice, as well as Dr. Bracey's, is to talk to someone you trust. They can help you seek treatment and help you seek help. Now we have the story posted on our website along with a list of resources if you or someone you know is experiencing postpartum depression.
Yeah, it is something so many people go through, and again, like you said, they don't talk about it, but this mom speaking tonight, helping so many people.
And everyone should be talking about it.
What an important story to tell. Erin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.